Why does one firearm become a legend like the AK-47, while another becomes a catastrophic failure? The difference is rarely a single flaw, but a systemic breakdown where manufacturing shortcuts, flawed design logic, or impractical concepts create an operational disaster. These weapons were not just unreliable. They were liabilities that cost lives and squandered resources. Understanding their mechanical and conceptual failures reveals the thin line separating iconic success from historical embarrassment. This analysis is not about opinion, but about the engineering verdicts rendered by history. The French Chauchat was designed to revolutionize World War I infantry tactics by providing a man-portable, fully automatic light machine gun. Instead, it became a masterclass in manufacturing compromises. Rushed into production at a Parisian bicycle factory, the weapon suffered from substandard materials and inadequate heat treatment. The core mechanical failure stemmed from its ammunition. Chamber for the heavily rimmed 8mm Lebel cartridge. The Chauchat required a severe crescent-shaped magazine to feed properly. To allow shooters to track ammunition, this flimsy 20-round magazine featured large open cutouts on the side. In brutal trench conditions, these openings acted as funnels for mud, dirt, and debris, guaranteeing catastrophic feed failures. Even when cleaned, the system overheated rapidly, often seizing after just 300 rounds. Firing the weapon was equally punishing. Its violent recoil and unstable bipod made accurate fire beyond 100 meters practically impossible, rendering its theoretical frontline advantage entirely useless. Italy's standard light machine gun for World War II, the Breda Modelo 30, was a masterpiece of negative engineering. Its mechanism was so complex that it created cascading failures on the battlefield. The weapon fired from a closed bolt, a system that trapped heat and led to dangerous cook-offs, where chambered rounds could spontaneously detonate from the high temperatures. To ensure reliable extraction, the Breda required a built-in oiler to lubricate each cartridge before it was chambered. In the deserts of North Africa, this oil acted as a magnet for sand and grit, guaranteeing frequent and severe jams. Compounding these issues was a fixed, side-mounted magazine. Soldiers had to painstakingly reload it with fragile 20-round stripper clips, a process that crippled the gun's practical rate of fire and left its open feed port exposed to even more debris, making it a logistical and operational nightmare. The Nambu Type 94 was issued as a compact sidearm for the Japanese military during World War II, but it quickly became infamous as an active liability to its operators. Chambered in the 8x22mm Nambu cartridge, the pistol suffered from exceptionally low velocity and poor terminal ballistics, rendering it inadequate for frontline combat. Its operational mechanics were equally flawed. High chamber pressures made seating the meager 6-round magazine physically difficult. Once loaded, the weapon's poor ergonomics compounded the misery. The grip was awkwardly tapered. An exposed magazine release button meant users frequently dumped their ammunition by simply holstering the pistol. However, its most catastrophic failure was mechanical. The Type 94 featured an exposed sear bar on the left side of the receiver. If this bar was bumped, pressed, or dropped, the weapon would fire without the trigger being pulled. This critical safety hazard earned it the grim moniker of the surrender pistol, as troops handing it over could unintentionally discharge a round. In the 1960s, the Gyrojet pistol and carbine represented a radical attempt to revolutionize small arms. Instead of conventional bullets, it fired self-contained, spin-stabilized rockets called microjets. This core innovation was also its fundamental, inescapable flaw. The rocket projectiles accelerated slowly after leaving the barrel, making them almost useless at typical pistol engagement distances where they had yet to reach effective velocity. This initial flight phase was also mechanically unstable, resulting in abysmal accuracy. reliability was just as poor. Even under ideal conditions, the system suffered a misfire rate as high as 1 in every 100 rounds. For a weapon with such catastrophic performance issues, manufacturing and maintenance costs were disproportionately high. Its only notable advantage was a reduced sound signature, but this single benefit could not compensate for a platform that was inaccurate, unreliable, and ineffective when it mattered most, dooming the project to commercial failure. The Glisenti Model 1910 was adopted as Italy's standard sidearm for World War I, but its development was fatally compromised by caliber demands. Originally engineered for a modest 7.65 by 22 mm cartridge, military officials forced a conversion to 9 mm parabellum. The Glisenti's frame lacked the structural integrity to handle those chamber pressures. Instead of a redesign, engineers created a proprietary, underloaded 9 mm cartridge. This resulted in dismal terminal ballistics, rendering the weapon drastically less effective than standard 9 mm sidearms. The structural weakness extended to the frame itself, which relied on a single side plate screw. Under recoil, this screw frequently vibrated loose, causing the pistol to literally disassemble itself in a user's hand. This forced caliber change also introduced a severe logistical hazard. Because the underloaded Glisenti round shared identical dimensions with standard 9 mm parabellum, soldiers could easily mix them up. Firing standard 9 mm ammunition through the fragile Glisenti guaranteed a catastrophic breech explosion, transforming an underpowered pistol into a lethal fragmentation hazard for the operator. In the mid-19th century, Colt attempted to scale its dominant revolver technology into a long gun, creating the Model 1855 Revolving Carbine. Produced in several calibers, including 36, 44, and 56, it was intended to give military units a rapid-fire advantage over single-shot rifles. The design, however, ported a revolver's core mechanics directly to a rifle format, including the unavoidable gap between the cylinder and barrel. While manageable in a handgun, this placement was catastrophic in a carbine where the user's support hand rests forward. Upon firing, high-pressure gas vented from this gap directly over the user's arm. This leakage frequently caused chain fires, where the flash would ignite the percussion caps of adjacent, unfired chambers. The result was a simultaneous, uncontrolled detonation of multiple rounds, sending shrapnel and concussive force directly into the soldier's hand. This risk of self-inflicted, grievous injury made the weapon an unacceptable liability. Despite brief military adoption, its fundamentally dangerous design guaranteed a short service life. Innovation alone guarantees nothing. Failure remains a critical development tool. These historical disasters stem from a lethal mix of design compromises, manufacturing shortcuts, impractical concepts, and disregarded user safety. They provide enduring lessons for modern engineering and procurement. Reliability must override ambition. What's in your holster? Let me know in the comments.